Well, guys, week 2 is in the books, and Adam asked me to fill in with a little guest video. Maybe some of the rest of you guys will do the same thing. Now, I don't have Adam's classy house, but I figured I'd class the place up, put a few fancy paintings up, make sure that everybody felt at home. This video is sponsored by Taco Bell, just so everybody knows. But I wanted to talk about the big win this week for myself. You know, I don't care about the rest of you guys, but it was a big win for me. Keith had a few what-if scenarios. I'm not exactly sure how they played out. He was, worried about if he had a different quarterback or if a fumble had actually been called a touchdown. I don't think he understands that there's not a fumble 6 scoring. But he coulda, shoulda, woulda. He might have changed things and he might have won. But maybe I changed a few things and I might have won again. Especially if the touchdown to Cooper Kupp had been called a touchdown instead of being down at the 1-yard line. Then I would have got at least 6 extra points off that. So also wanted to congratulate Alex Boy Billy. He had a nice win this week. We all saw how OBJ changed his whole scenario there. Harrison had a butt whooping of Aaron. I'm not 100% sure why you picked up Howard, Aaron. I mean, he's got potential. And he may wind up one day being an actual good tight end, but the play that I saw the first 2 weeks, it doesn't look like he's the next Gronk. Nathan, congratulations for being the only undefeated team. Taking care of Josephine this week. That looked like a solid win. Things are looking, like they're starting to gel a little bit. It's a long season. We've got a lot to see. I looked at some of the statistics that Adam pointed out, the little charts and the graphs, and I don't think the system likes me very much because I'm always at the bottom, no matter what. And I don't understand it because Keith somehow shot up with a bullet to number 3 despite losing to the team that it lists as the number 8 team. I don't know. We'll see. I don't think the championship is decided by a chart in the fantasy system. But we'll see how it keeps playing out. I looked at some of the other charts and they are a little confusing. But maybe they'll explain some things to us eventually. Maybe we'll get some data out of it by the end of the year. I wanted to take a few minutes to talk about some of the teams in the league. They seem to be having some quarterback issues. Big Ben went down. We know that maybe Cam Newton, he might be facing some time where he's off. Drew Brees, obviously, not a good situation there. We know Mono Boy in New York. I don't know how you catch mono and you were the only one on the team who caught it. You were the only one in the facility who caught it, and nobody on the opposing team had it. And his wife doesn't have it, or girlfriend, I don't know which, but they were talking about nobody in his family had it. So, has he been making out with the water fountain? I don't know. But there are definitely some issues. Don't worry, guys. I have heard that Colin Kaepernick is ready to play. His agent released a message saying that he is literally in the best shape of his life. Now, I don't know if that's literally like the 2019 where it actually means figuratively and maybe doesn't even mean that at all, or perhaps he actually is in really good football shape, despite having not been on the field in 3 seasons, maybe 4, 3 or 4 seasons. 2016, I think, is when he stopped playing. So I don't know what kind of shape he's in. He hasn't played in any other leagues. You haven't seen him on anything else, but he protests very well, and that might serve him very well in this game. I did want to take a second to talk about a surprising statistic. I know my Bengals aren't doing well. Oh, by the way, rocking the throwback Boomer Esiason jersey. But the Bengals are not doing well. The first week showed promise. Last week showed nothing. Completely back where we were. Absolute stinkfest. But I did want to talk about Andy Dalton for a second, because Andy Dalton gets a lot of grief. They've even nicknamed it the Andy Dalton line. If you're Andy Dalton, you're right in the middle. If you're worse than Dalton, you suck. If you're better than Dalton, you're an elite quarterback or whatever. But I wanted to talk about that real quick, because in the 2011 draft, there were a lot of quarterbacks taken. Cam Newton, who I mentioned before, was the #1 overall draft pick. We had guys such as Jake Locker, first round. Blaine Gabbert, first round. Christian Ponder, first round. It didn't turn out too well for those three. We have Andy, and then immediately after him was Colin Kaepernick. And people were like, John, your Bengals screwed up. Colin Kaepernick is obviously the better quarterback. And he does have an arm on him. I mean, I have seen that guy throw some amazing balls. But statistically, he wasn't even close to Andy Dalton when he was playing. With guys like Ryan Mallett, Ricky Stanzi, T.J. Yates. He had like 3 or 4 good games for the Texans, I think. Nathan Enderle. Oh, Tyrod Taylor. He started for a while. Nope. Greg McElroy. Oh, and the supplemental draft that year. Oh, it was Terrell Pryor, who got kicked out of quarterbacking and made into a wide receiver. So, just wanted to mention a couple stats like that, because you see who's still in the league, who's still starting quarterback, only Cam Newton and Andy Dalton. And I saw an actual interesting statistic page that was comparing Cam Newton and Andy Dalton. And if you compare their careers, Cam Newton gets all the money, he gets all the recognition, and he actually is considered by many people to be a flashy, premier starting quarterback. But in every major statistic, Andy Dalton has higher completion rating, higher passer rating. He has more touchdowns. He has fewer interceptions. He has more yards. All these statistics go for Andy Dalton, except for, and it is true, Cam Newton obviously runs a lot. And Cam Newton has more rushing yards. That's the only one out of all the statistics. Even wins. Andy Dalton has more wins than Cam Newton has. So it doesn't necessarily mean you're better if you're flashier. But I will tell you that running all those yards probably has shortened Cam Newton's career by a considerable amount. But I hope everybody's having a good time with the season. Enough Bengals chat. We'll never get any love unless I give us some love. But I hope everybody's having a fun time. I hope everybody makes good decisions, and I hope you're all extremely shocked when the guy who was picked last by the computer system wins the cup for a 3rd time. It could happen.